stingo unafanya kwa website, the way this website has been displayed, unacheki this learning by examples, it appears different than this. So for you to do this in a website, in a browser, we use hypertext markup language. And how do you do it? First, you need to declare it. No, doc type HTML. This is normal stuff. And then ukuje inside this. So easy vitu. This is in doc type HTML. No, and something about the hypertext markup language. No, to define it. We first define it here. No, doc type. It's a document type HTML hypertext markup language. Now the fact that umedefine hivi inamaanisha markup language, this ndio inaitangwa marking. Unaona hivi hapa na hapa, we have marked that this zone is HTML na nimemark that this zone is the title. Unaona, how do you mark in a website? The markup language for you, and okay, maybe I'm gonna the reason why we are marking because it displays in a display information different from the normal. Unaona, if it's a title kuna venye itatoka. Unaona, whatever, if itakuwa unataka ikuwe displayed maybe here, unaona, whenever HTML tutorial, unaona, XML Google search, you need, unataka iapia hivyo. And if it's a heading, let me just tuingia hapa tuione how it looks. This is a heading H1. If I want to describe a heading, ona venye imekuwa kubwa, like how it's been rendered in a web page. But let's say maybe nilikuwa nataka ikuwe a bit smaller, equal H2, and then equal H2, and then I run. So na kamekuwa kadogo. How now that instruction, how websites are able to process here is through the markup language, and that's why tunahitaji the HTML. And for you to display information in the net, in the internet, we display kwa websites unacheki iko like formats. This flow, like this is a big word, this is small, and when you see this automatically unajua this is a section, maybe it's a title, kitu kayo, no? So when you do this, you need to mark. You mark kwanza your boundaries, alafu you put the information inside. Unacheki kama for instance, notice this is a heading and I want to bold. For instance, nataka ikuwe at least bold. Unaona? Like if I want it to be bold, then what will be inside B? Unajua B in HTML ndio, I think niyo. And then I run. So na imekuwa bolded. Exactly. So for you to do that in a markup language, you need to declare the regions. Unaona? And these regions are declared using tags. Unaona? Iko na opening tag na iko na closing tag. Unacheki? So na utakuta some tags hasi lazima zikuwe na the closing tag. Unaweza amua ku omit something like button, unaona. And when you can, in some websites kama iko na hiyo HTML injection unaweza kuta msee ameomit that closing tag, and then it can lead to a vulnerability. Maybe unakuta something like your button, unajua inside a button you can declare something like on click, unaona, vitu kaa hizo. So these tags ni very important. The first they declare the boundary, lakini pia there are special tags. Kuna special tags kama is image tags where unaweza ongezea a link kama source. Unacheki, let me show you as I hii hapa HTML images. So HTML images, for you to display such a beautiful image kwa website yako, unaona, you declare it this way, ndio. And unaona source, it takes this is like a path. Unacheki vitu kaa hizo, and these are different type of tag. Unacheki hii si lazima ikuwe na the ending tag, but when you come to hizi ziko nazo, unaona, within that boundary. So hizo, the markup language itself, HTML, this syntax, unaona, iko na like a syntax of if you want to display net information kwa website, use these tags, unaona. So there are other special tags. Hiyo ni HTML. Sasa kuna XML, it's also a markup language, but this now is so exciting kwa sababu unaona hivi venye tumefanya hivi the H1 nini, for instance, for me to write a heading, imekuwa I need to do this hello or something, unaona. And then H1, it's H1, ndio. So this is HTML, ndio. Hii tuite HTML. this one to HTML, sindio? Now this is now kitu kama tuseme nataka kuangalia, I want data and I want the product. I know the product ID, yani ule msee venye ame select. Let me show you in the lab itself, ndo muione for what it is, this one. So ukiingia kwa hii challenge, if you want to access this lab kwa Portswigger, you'll be led here kidogo, nataka ifunguke, but I want to show you why this kuna HTML. Naona HTML is representing. Now sometimes I want to handle data inside a website. Naona kama anataka kujua mseme anataka like the pet, like for instance you see this is a shop, we like to shop, iko na these balls, simple use, food header. Let me admit this guy. So tuko hapa, si ndio? So unaona this is just a normal shopping website. Nime display picture normal products, a giant grasshopper. It's a crazy picture. Kuna paintball gun, kuna nini, naona all this. Okay, assume pia Shopify has the same, whatever Amazon iko nayo, but kuna how I'm interacting with these products, ndio? Like if nikiona the splash, nikuja hapa kwa description, blah blah blah. But now maybe the website is capturing data kama location, London, Paris, unaona? So I want to check the stock for people in Paris, unaona? So unaona ina respond na 755 units, but this data London, Paris, Milan is being handled in some type of way. Inakuwa handled aje? Kitu kama product ID, and then you close that tag. Evo kiasi. Ni sawa, product ID, sindio? And then maybe the product ID is 2, sindio? And product name kitu kama tuseme nini, tumeona nini, it's this London, sindio? So okay, let me let's create a scenario for me to show you kwanza. So product name, like nimekosea hapa, product name tuseme for instance it's product ID 2 and the product name is like Omo. I don't know, product ID, product name inaka repetitive, but kitu kaa hiyo, let's just assume for learning purposes nitaonyesha exactly another more complex scenario. So product name, the client ameamua kuselect, I want to know the stock that it's in Milan. This stock zenye ziko around Milan na ikatuambia 755 units, unaona? So from the user sending this, unaona hii ni data, this is data, whether this is data, what is being sent here can be, unaweza kuta some database kama SQL server is kiasi. I need to put this meeting free for everyone, lakini ndo nitoke hapa niache ku explain. Sasa I'll do that, but let's just go back. Unaona, for instance, unaona hizi ni product ID, product name. Yani this website is saying the client, huyu client, this lab, huyu client anataka kuona how many products that cost $12.27 zenye ziko available in Milan, Paris ama London. So naona that ka communication, ukifinya hii check stock, so this is like just a button, but let's see. Let me inspect let me just inspect it. This is just a button, it's just a simple button, but so now it's submitting something, sindio? Type submit. So it is sending us a web request to a server. Yani nataka, I want to know how many products zimebaki that are in London. Na ukaambiwa it's 755 units. Unacheki? So that communication between a website, a web server, na you as the client side and there's some data. Unaona hiyo data, kama kuna data kama hiyo yenye nataka kuangalia stock and the website will be returning at 29 are available, 30 are available, it tells you something. Your data had to be packaged in some type of way, and for you to handle that, that's where tunatumia XML. But now that's the problem. There's some problem. Most of us, that's something new. Unaweza kuwa developer where the developer actually anatumia nini? Anatumia JavaScript nini, but how the communication is happening, if data is involved, probably there's some XML. Unaona? And now if there's some XML, kuna kuanga na misconfiguration, unaona? And if there are misconfigurations, there's room for such vulnerabilities kama external entity injection. External entity injection is something exciting. Unaona venye I had to show you doc type HTML. Unakumbuka? Akajua nimeweka okay, but ndoi doc type HTML. There's another doc type. Na kuna venye if I declare that doc type na iko na this doc type, unaona venye sasa hii iko na hizi tags, iko na some other things tunaziitanga entities, unaona? So as we are doing this as we're doing this, kumbuka HTML discussing hizi tags, but now tumeangalia tags kama headings nini. Now tutakuwa tuna discuss we'll be discussing something, other types of easy tags. Itakuwa more of entities. Nitaonyesha what entities are and in XML what they do, but now I think everything imeconnect. Now kila mtu anaona how we are moving forward. Hata ndo hii hapa this thing, unaona this thing unaona hapa doc type stock check and then this entity XXE system whatever, this is the vulnerability itself. Unaona kama now I want to talk about the vulnerability and then I show you what leads to the vulnerability. But it's the server is so innocent, hata devs wanakuanga so innocent, but what you can serve files kama file etc password na utakuta server since iko configured it can respond with it and it responds with something in ikituka inaona root nini, but you see the server is serving sensitive files because of misconfigurations. So hadi hapo I think tuna rada, si ndio? I think everyone, ama kuna mtu akona swali? Does anyone have a question up to there before start tuingie? Because after we cover this sai I show you the vulnerabilities, leo tunafaa kuwa able to cover the blind, si ndio? Kanyoko, ama how kunaenda, is it okay up to now? Is your concept inaeleweka? Yeah, nakusikia. So, okay, if you have a question, you can ask to me at the chat because I think it's so interesting. Actually, when yamna maswali ndio nashtuka because me I had a lot of questions. The people in our collab had a lot of questions. So, better feel free, ask any question, any crazy question you have. Kuna venye ina make sense. If the way you reasoning ina make sense because you'll later discover it's not it's not a hard concept. It's just how websites now work. And now let me tell you something exciting. Do you know something like Java? Wow, Java hawana bahati. Java they can what they can only do again about this vulnerability. They cannot do away with it. They can only fight against it. So sometimes you can tell how vulnerable a system is. Kama najua Java enyewe, for anyone who has ever created an app, unaonanga ile grid layout unaweka hapo, sijui unataka maybe ikae sijui linear layout, I don't know, those are the zinakuanga. And for you, unaona sisi kama users ni hivi, unaona hizi zimejipanga hivi, hizi zimejipanga hivi, unaona And you see apps unaona it also it's the same. Kama ukiingia WhatsApp kuna hii side ya chats, kuna side ya groups. So how that imekuwa represented if it's using Java, by of course by nitasemaje, be sure that of course there's some XML there, unaona. So Java systems are very vulnerable to this, very vulnerable. And hawezi, they cannot do anything about it because that's how they use for you to represent your ka display in Java apps, you'll need to use XML. So it's something very exciting, and I think we can start tunapitia tu mbio mbio. So XML entity injection is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to interfere with an application's processing of XML data. It often allows an attacker to view files on the application server file system and to interact with any backend or external systems that the application itself can access. Unacheki? It's a lot. It goes si server peke yake. Kuna database iko hapo. Anyone who is handling this XML data is vulnerable. So keep that in mind. Pen test. Check yo. If you check that, I think iko poa. It's a high chance because niliona it's XXE iko na 96% vulnerability. Yani the chances of a system is vulnerable to this is very high. Na unakuta you are at the client side. If you can do this from the client side, haitaki utafute root access, haitaki you just, if they're using this, they're using this. No. And that's it. So utakuta now the problem is if they're using this, the interaction with backend or external systems. These external systems can be database, can be zinaweza kuwa nini, can be servers, can be whatever, virtual, vitu mingi ziko hapo. You have countless capabilities. So in some situations, an attacker can escalate an XXE attack to compromise the underlying server or other backend infrastructure by leveraging the XXE vulnerability to perform server-side request forgery attacks. Unacheki, like this is just like an entry. If it's handling this, now come with your attack vectors. And this tunafikiria kama pen testers, you're thinking like hackers, but for information purposes only, unaona, na pia for you to understand how it is, how these websites is na, unaona. So see, I'm not encouraging you to do this in other websites ama nini, but be sure hata kwa bug bounty in something like HackerOne, if you go to CTFs, kitu kaa hii iko, unaona. So you can see now the attacker has the leverage ya kudo server side request forgery. Mnajua server side request forgery ni nini? Okay, sitaenda sana but nitawaonyesha. I'll give you a good definition from itakuwa. So server side request forgery is a web vulnerability where an attacker tricks a server into making unintended network request or to internal or external systems. Inamaanisha, you know, sometimes as much as I'm using HTTPS, anything that's HTTPS iko na domain bidhaa Kanyako, niko na hiyo swali. For you to have HTTPS, should you have a registered domain? Pia it's open to all of you. Mnaonaje? For you to have HTTPS, do you need to have a registered domain? Exactly. That's it. No, I think that's so beautiful. Inabamba. So an external HTTP, an external request by default, if it's in a network, by hiyo kitu ni HTTPS, it's secure. But Kanyako, localhost, I understand localhost is the machine itself, sindio? So abu imagine if localhost is the machine itself, nani anatumia HTTPS? Juu bedha, let me tell you something about HTTPS. HTTPS hyper, okay, no, is there mtu ameuliza swali ama you have to buy SSL certificates. That's it. No, no, that's it. That's actually that's my main point. You have to buy SSL certificates for yani unachekingika when you are doing BAP suits, kuna mambo ya certificate lazima install ya BAP. So it's just poleni, lakini that's just how HTTPS works. HTTPS is a hypertext transfer protocol secure. It's no longer hypertext peke yake, iko na some security needs. That security is a form of encryption. It's just the encrypted version of HTTP. And what do we use? We use TLS and SSL. Unacheki to secure data between your browser and a website, indicated by a padlock. Sensitive data info like passwords and credit cards. Lakini yeah, okay. I don't want if itafanya network iko trash sahi. Okay, so mnanisikia? I don't know. Mnanisikia, sindio? You can give me a reaction if mnanisikia. Nice. So inamaanisha TLS and SSL ni more of you protecting the client. Nona? So it's a client server architecture, but an internal system atutumii, ini ngumu. For ukikuta a system like hata mimi najua when I'm running something like a web page from my server, mimi mwenyewe as the server I'm reading the data as it is, si ndio? And now an internal systems zina making request to themselves like utakuta like an internal system maybe nataka ku access the database, si ndio? The server wants to access its database resource which is just there, si ndio? Since it's internal, it doesn't, no, sasa kama ita encrypt inamaanisha it needs to decrypt, unaona? If it is using any encryption, like most probably utakuta a server is just ina handle information as it is. Unacheki, there's no form of encryption. The only encryption that comes in Web 2 or HTTPS unakutanga it's more of client server, yani when I'm handling the client information to me. Lakini sasa shida ni ikishafika pande yangu kama server, see we are just najua if this API call ni internal, it's an internal call, yani it's an internal request, of course ni yangu, I've made the request, but there's a catch. Iko wapi? Where is it? Here it is. Nataka kuonesha the catch itself. Copy. Where did you learn? Nimeona hizo internal, external systems. Okay, I need to show you something. Okay, but let me just hapana. Hey, I need to show you something. Naitafuta hata before you talk. Ndo click. Ndo enyewe understand a server. For instance, let's just do this. I think I can fire up VS Code, Visual Studio Code. Alafu niwaoneshe some example of a local, like localhost inamaanisha it's me is the computer communicating with itself. Unacheki, so the web request yenyewe imetoka from outside, it has been processed, but now how the computer, the server, maybe for instance the server wants to communicate to another database, utakuta most of the times inaweza kuta it's just HTTP and it's just unaonanga kama MySQL, ukiset MySQL unaekanga hiyo localhost whatever, unaona, and that request anyone doing that ni internal system, so there's no form of encryption, hakuna mambo ya ati certificates ati to verify who is the sender, tushajua it's the system, unaona. But now that is the problem. If as an attacker I can be able to do something like this, copy this, okay, let me show you itself. This unaona, hii hapa I can access something like file etc password. Na hii system I'll tell you exactly kila kitu zinafanya, the entity itself, what it is, the XXE ni nini, the system, and unaona. So and you remember, unakumbuka, nataka msisahau something what Kenya niliwaambia about the images. Unaona hii image source peak and then like you describe the image and then unasema where it is in the system. VS Code imekataa kufunguka. Nanunua tu MacBook. But yeah, like I want you to understand, like pages unaonanga inaitangwaje, is it a hyperlink that connects one web page to another? Unaona hiyo hyperlinking ukiangalia in a form of file manager type view. I don't know why VS Code haifunguki. Nikotaka uone like for the server enye bona server enye hapa imesema pic truly.jpg. Of course it's stored in the storage of a server, ndio it's in local storage. For unaona hapa venye imekuwa accessed, if imekuwa accessed hivi utai get directly as it is. Sasa problem is how far can you go? Unaona image najua you can only go as far as this, ndio the active directory, ndio. But now with XML tunaweza piga this full stretch, and what allows us to do this, sasa tunataka kujua what are these entities, unaona, and how do they work, what happens when I declare something enye iko under XML and iko na some entity, unaona, and what abilities, what are entities in XML in short, because tumeona the way hapa kama nataka image but kama it's locally manze, maybe you can be able na mse ameconfigure like something like images, but automatically you'll be able to serve from this directory. But in XML, okay, that's HTML, it's in the hypertext markup language, but in XML it's something different. Ni kitu tofauti inaitwa kwanza kuna DTDs and then kuna, but let's start na XML entities kwanza. Entities, what are XML entities? I think to understand too are XML entities beda ikifika sat I think 9 and I think kutaweza kuwa no restriction, but I'll create a new link and then you can join. But before ishe, let's just do this. What has happened? 4-3. What are mimi kwa nataka tu kujua what are XML entities. Guy. Yeah. What is happening? I actually try from this. XML. What are XML entities? Guy, isinifanyie what's happening? Okay, yeah, it's so XML entities are placeholders or abbreviations used in XML documents to represent an item of data, a specific character, or a larger block of content. They act as substitution mechanisms where an entity name like EV, e.g. hivi, is replaced by its defined value when the document is passed by an XML processor. So, hey, najua umesikia a lot of words, but let me explain it. Inamaanisha nini? Admit. Inamaanisha what all this is saying. XML, these placeholders inamaanisha, so like, okay, so that placeholder is this hadi hapa, unaona hapa hii ndo placeholder. This placeholder has been referenced, will be referenced somewhere else. Wapi? Hapa, unaona, nitawashow ita click to sahi. So these placeholders or abbreviations used in XML documents to represent an item of data or a specific character or a larger block of content. They act as substitution mechanisms where an entity name kama hii, and this is how you declare an entity name. Kwanza, if you're declaring it's an entity hivi, unaona, utai declare hapa, una declare na that and sign, and then whatever you can put your name hata hapa and then a semicolon inside easy tags XML. You remember, keep in mind, this is how XML is being handled. So you have seen a website in a handle XML hivi. Your payload unakuja unaiweka hapa. And XML, for instance, XXE, whatever. Okay, mimi napenda kutumia XXE because it reminds me of the vulnerability itself. It's enyewe. So product ID and XXE and then semicolon. Now the fact that the XML itself itataka kujua bidhaa hiyo ni nini, so unaona, and it knows kama declare in this format, it's a placeholder, si ndio hapa, there are placeholders, unaona. So entities zina offer several benefits, including the ability to define commonly used text in a single location okay. Entities offer several benefits, including the ability to define commonly used text in a single location and incorporating content from other files. That's it. Apple, very important. And incorporating contents from other files. Lakini remember this. Iko wapi huyu? From other file. Pia file etc password, since it's a Linux server, it's a file by default. Lakini ni mbaya. Ni ngori. Kwa sababu if entities offer several benefits, kama incorporating content from other files to modularize the large documents. Enyewe, that's why Java is fast. Nataka access from here, database, whatever, ni sawa. You'll get data fast. But kama kuna misconfiguration, you can serve more than you need, because it's just like an image where you'll be passing a URL. Ama, acha tuangalie. Let me click kabisa HTML links. W3 schools. I don't know. I wish ikuwe na, I think iko na ndio hyperlinks. Remember nilitaja hiyo jina. Hizi jina bidhaa, they are very crucial. Zina click. So HTML links are found in nearly all web pages, ndio. Links allow users to click their way from one page to another. Yani when unatokanga hapa, you click, kama for instance bidhaa, this is our beautiful website Xperia, unaona, and then it's a tour travel, unaona, but nikitaka kuingia kwa journeys, destinations, vitu kama hizo, I want to travel to Europe, Tanzania, Rwanda, anywhere, so unaona. But you see there's something that's happening hapa kwa URL, there's some linkings, there's some files zinakuwa accessed. This is a web file, it's a that's why .html, ukitaka ku declare something as a web file, you'll just say .html. What does it stand for? Okay, wow. Napenda AI saa zingine. Okay, sawa, but it's HTML, but for you to end, so unajua kwa file kama it's an executable file, it's .exe. Kama ni a docx file, kama ni ya Microsoft, ni what, a Google Docs file, uteka docx, ama pia unaweza save. Kama ni a notepad, for instance, kama hapa nikitaka save this, save as a text file ama markdown. Okay, naona sasa hadi inaniambia markdown ina detect this syntax, but nataka kuisave as a text file. As a text file inamaanisha it's .txt. Unacheki? So by default, if una reference something as .html, another page as .html using hyperlinks, unaona, and I declare a URL, href URL, and then whatever link text. Let me show you, for instance, what it is. Tag ya kudiff. So unajua in HTML, if it's a web page, nataka nikifinya W3C, let me show you. I hope you load. Nikifinya hapa W3C, you know, it's just same way you click in a website. But unaona hata hapa chini, I don't know, hapa chini, hapa, check here, around here. Whenever you try to click a page, utaona bidhaa inakuoneshanga where you're trying to go. Saka hapa I'm trying to go to w3schools.com, HTML images, Google, kuna hapa www.w3.org. Unaona? So this linking in HTML goes like this. Unaona? To access another file, hata kama ni image, it works the same in images, where I can the file. No, it's an image file. Sindio? It's in the server. So, but I admit one more. Hey, Beda, thanks for attending. So, since Hapa an image is still an image file, it's stored somewhere, and this is how you access it. Unacheki. So in entities za XML, tulikuwa wapi? Tumecover a lot. Tuko wapi? Entities. In entities, this you can do the same way. Unaona, unaweza reference, I can declare an entity which is a placeholder, an entity, and then XML entities in a placeholder, and then inside this placeholder I can reference a file. Unaona, the same way nimefanya kwa image, I can also do it in XML. But now there's a problem. There's a problem in that. Mbona? Because once nime something like this placeholder, I can say this placeholder URL. Wacha niwaonyeshe this. I want to explain to you what this command does. Okay, watch hapa. Let me admit one more person. Imebit guy. Sawa. So where is that ka entity? So these tumesema entity, this is our entity. What it's just a placeholder, so entity the placeholder, and for you for XML to create an entity we open na tag, but now this placeholder ni hii yenyewe XXE, and you can put your name hapa. But now what is it referencing? No, I want to reference something from, now let me tell you inafanyanga nini. But Google is a good place to learn, as unaweza itumia niita Google Doc na mani, I don't know, this is part of information gathering. What does this do? Okay, how does this work? Okay, I don't know, how does this work in XML, and then you just paste here. It will tell you some information. So the line is an example of an external entity injection vulnerability. It's a command that instructs an XML parser to read the contents of a local file on the server and substitute it in the XML document. And that's why ile response ilikuwa inakaa hivi nikatuma hii. So I'm referencing this file in the system. No, XXE is referencing file etc password, sindio? It's a text file. It can be inaapia hivi. So whenever the XML will be reading XXE, kama hapa, for instance, unaona kama hapa. So whenever the website is trying to read the product ID, so whenever, unaona hizo ni whenever ngapi nimesema, I don't know. So whenever I'm trying to click this check stock, what will check stock be referencing? Itakuwa ina reference this. So see a website ina pass the product ID as argument nini, hiyo hadi hapo tuko sawa. But I'm referencing this placeholder named XXE, but what is it doing? It's doing this. It tells the XML parser to read the contents of a local file on the server and substitute it into the XML document. Here's a breakdown of how it works. This is a tag. It defines a new entity, a variable or a placeholder in the document type definition. Mnaona nikiwaambia kitu inaitwa DTDs, tutazipata. Let's know what are DTDs. So DTDs. So a DTD is a document that defines the structure of a SGML or XML document. So DTDs are a set of rules that define the structure, elements, and attributes for markup languages. So assume ni kama syntax. Unacheki? If I want to declare an entity, an XML entity, which is just a placeholder, I'll use this tag. Nitatumia tag gani? Hii hapa. Unaona? So have that in mind. Because it's part of the vulnerability, but that's just how XML in a work. Unaona? So up to there, tuko hapo, sindio? So they serve as a grammar for documents and allowing parsers to validate content and maintain data integrity. XML vulnerability nasema it instructs the XML parser to read the contents of a local file on the server. So this is just I want to to declare this entity, the name of the entity which can be referenced later using this. Unaona? So nime declare this entity. This is how you declare it usually. Now nawaonesha the payload itself. This is how you declare that entity. Kwanza declare outside, ndo hii. Outside, and then you reference it. So if it's a website and inaserve vitu kama stock check, product ID, I'll declare this outside. No, but of course XML, if you know, for them to handle this data hivi, kuna msemo mwingine anajoin admit 3 Jesus kidogo. I'm sorry, waambieni pole. I'm trying to work na time. Huni mwingine I admit all. Poleni. I'm sorry for those joining sai. Square we're covering a lot but ni sawa. So let's come here. Sindio? Tuko hapa. So tumesema you declare it outside. Unaona? So since this inafanya stock check, I will already in XML, if you do this and XXE semicolon, whatever you put katikati hapa, itaambia XML itajua there is something being referenced. Na sasa this referencing you do it here. This is how you do. Hapo utakuja ufanye your declaration. So utakuja I declare a new XML entity using a heavy doc type and then full and then do this. Okay, let me. But I think pia mnafaa kujua, but now that this is so much important kama what is happening here, but now because this is the payload itself, if you declare this tag una open, it's an external entity, it's an entity, and then that what makes it internal inamaanisha it will be referenced. No. So from here inaanzia hapa, I've declared that placeholder, inamaanisha I'm referencing it from somewhere. If XML there touches kama inataka kujua iko wapi, it will come to read here. Unaona? And what will it be reading? Itasema this placeholder XXE is a file in a reference who you to use system and then it's referencing file etc password. Unacheki? So this is how kwanza unakuja unaandika hii. This is very important. Unaona? And tutafanya sasa we'll see other things that you can do, and then from there now you come and reference it inside kule kitu yote wana handle in XXE inside this XML document here hivi, cause ni big, the XML is quite big. Utaona iko na itajua how it's opening and closing the tag, but since it's serving, you come and kwanza put your this is where we'll be referencing, and I'll be doing this entity XXE. Since umeambiwa XML inataka kujua what is this placeholder doing, what is it referencing, ni kama image. You know, image is just a tag, but of course image has source. So the same way, if you do this, you're referencing something from sindio. So the name and of the entity which can be referenced later using so system hii hapa itakuwa inafanya nini? A keyword instructing the parser that this is an external entity, meaning its value should be loaded from an external resource. Haiko within, and of course if it's a database haiko within, but bado somewhere in localhost maybe it's a web URL, unaona. And now tutakuja kulearn some very important. This is very important before we go to the vulnerability itself, because bila hii sitakuwa nawaambia anything. This for you to understand better what is this we are doing. Kuna kitu inaitwa same origin policy na cross origin policy, and these policies are very important. View all, then admit all. Sawa. So same hii mambo ya enye unasikia referencing, for you to understand better how this referencing iko managed and how these web servers they're doing all this. There's something inaitwa SOAP and ingine itama cross what? Okay. Let me iko hapa, lazima iko before. Let me show you. Iko wapi? Kuna there's something missing. You know, without that will, I think itakuwa mbaya. Learn about XML. Yeah, tuingia hapa. I think it was here. What are XML, DTDs? Not sure your DTDs. There's someone here we need to know. Anaitwa where is he? Anaitwa SOP. Wow. I really need to show you something. Nisipoonesha, I don't know. It's also here. Iko kwa hii. Iko wapi? Nani anakumbuka kule SOP ilikuwa na XML? Okay, custom entities, external entities. Okay, my entity, whatever. Kitusha cover, I think. How vulnerabilities arise. I think it should be here. But let me just, nilikuwa nataka pia muione from a post triggers perspective. Okay, acha tuonekane naweza ipata. Let me first admit huyu. It's 9. Okay, see, nice. Meeting agent, I don't know, nilikuwa nafikiria watani ita exit. Last time I used to have that problem. Eh, eh, eh. Yeah, hata nimeshtuka. I don't know why it's not ending. Inanibamba. So, but just in case, I will just send a new link. So, but before that, tusipoguzia SOP. I don't know. Niko nimefungua new tab. I think itaniletea SOP. Same origin policy ndo hii. Port trigger. Better learn about this. It's exciting. Same origin policy. What is cause? It's another vulnerability. That's why iko hapo. It's part of it. Ina make sense. Zina click. So same origin policy. In this section, we explain what the same origin policy is and how it is implemented. So same origin policy is a web browser security mechanism that aims to prevent websites from attacking each other. The same origin policy restricts scripts on one origin from accessing data from another origin. An origin consists of a URL scheme, domain, and port number. Tutafanya lakini simesikia this zina prevent websites from attacking each other, vitu kama hizo. But an external resource, you don't know how external an external resource inaweza kuwa. An external resource can go even to a database and maybe inaweza kuta inakuwa referenced in some different way. And that different way, one of the same origin policy, ni localhost stays localhost. But in something we call cross-origin resource sharing, inamaanisha is a web browser mechanism which enables controlled access to resources located outside of a given domain. Unacheki, inamaanisha hii website inaweza access information from another website. It's crazy, it's happening. Unaona? So, and that's how the server inatumia kuprocess our information. Kiasi, someone's knocking. Thank you manze. Poleni, I'm sorry. Yep, tuko wapi? Any question up to now? So we were talking about what course, cross origin resource sharing, how it's working. No, like how far is the server accessing that resource? Unacheki. So easy policies, they just some websites zinaziallow, unaona, some websites haziallow same haziallow these external, that's much external, where utakuta, where is it, huyo ako wapi? Let me show you. This is same origin policy, cross origin. Okay, tuanzie hapa nilifinya wapi nikaingia. Okay, same origin policy. I need to show you something hapa. You see, http normal website.com example. Yes. Okay, nataka kuangalia the access. Or just since it's a policy, inamaanisha is it accepting requests ama high accept. So better understand this because of something tutaita blind XXE. Tutakuja kuangalia mbona. Naona sasa nataka kutouch zote tukienda. So URL access ni instance http normal website.com example. Unaona? These will be allowed. Okay, let's look at this website. The website itself is http ndio the original website. Tuseme ndio hii. It's http normalwebsite.com. Lakini si unaonanga venye unaweza kuwa kwa website and then you access another page na utakuwa allowed. Like for instance, like this. So unaona hapa naweza change. I can do this. Hii naweza change haraka. Okay, this is the same page but unaona hapa kuna all topics, kuna nini. I can maneuver through this, but I can maneuver up to some extent. Unaona? Na easy extent where in which unaweza maneuver hapa, unaweza toka outside the normal domain, ama can you access an external resource outside the normal domain, inakuanga either permitted or not permitted, but in some type of way kuna venye that permission inaletanga some vulnerabilities. Unaona? So let's look at this. http normalwebsite.com example. Is it permitted? Yes, kwa sababu it's the same scheme. Same scheme inamaanisha it's still http and hapa ni http, si ndio? Hatuja change the domain. The domain is normalwebsite.com. Bado haja change. Unaona? So this will be allowed. And then example. The domain itself normalwebsite.com, and then I want to serve this part exactly. The example. Hiyo iko sawa. And example is what? Example ukifinya hiyo slash, since example is a web page yenye dev ame create. Sana hizi ni routes. Si mnajua routes? Hebu acha ni si assume. What are routes? Okay, tuanze tuangalie in React. So, a route in React, routes define the mapping between the specific URL path and the React component that should be rendered. Yani, for instance, inamaanisha, niwaambie, okay, you need to mtajua about a lot about React. Hapana. No, you can read it on your own. Maanisha, what it means, like when I'm trying to do this, http same scheme normalwebsite.com same domain and then slash example. Si ni route. Ukifinya route example huwa ina serve index.html, the first file. Tuseme kama ilikuwa example.html, it will just render. Lakini unaona HTML hypertext, what makes it exciting, it's because what makes XML so exciting na HTML inamaanisha for you to access, the only reason you can see a website when you go to it, it's served somewhere. So, and what is being served? These are files. Hizi ni files zimekuwa served somewhere. And stop. Okay. Okay, route subdirectory. Okay, sawa. Let's look at it. Let's tuangalie. A route, Kanyoko, I can say a route is I don't know, it's more of a function wise, because subdirectories, it should need to be nitasemaje, it will need to be configured under, yani kama the tree architecture of this is normal website.com and then example. Tukisema routes ni like subdirectories. Actually I had that question, niliuliza that question, and what niliambiwa from the research I came to understand that subdirectory, a route can be more of a function. Okay, let me acha tuangalia as it is, and then I'll explain to you what's is a route. Okay, niliuliza hivi, is a routes subdirectories ama I don't know, kuna niliuliza something similar, lakini I think it was in a chat yangu mimi na Gemini, so I think it will be no are routes subdirectories. Inafaa kuniambia no. Yes, this one. No, routes aren't inherently subdirectories, but in web development, URLs often map application routes like products, una kama hii ini products and then shoes to physical directory structure or virtual handlers. That was the word nilikuwa natafuta. Si lazima ikue physical. Your subdirectories lazima ikue physical, si ndio? Ama kana subdirectory be virtual? I don't know. Even in the virtual space, it's still physical, si ndio? Okay. Even in a virtual machine, if you have a subdirectory, it's still imekuwa stored in that storage, si ndio? But routes are not necessarily a subdirectory. But often unaweza kuta it can also reference an actual subdirectory. Like neza route, hapana, say the route. Like for instance, kwa sababu naangalia if you want to route to what? Tuseme kama dashboard. Kama msee ame login and then it's successful, unaona anakuanga routed to dashboard.html ama the dashboard page ama the dashboard route. But it's not necessary, because no, if it's a subdirectory then inamaanisha it will represent ita display all the information inside. Ni kama hivi, see nikifinya see. Okay, when I do this, file see kitu kaa hii, you see. Okay, sitaki kufinya, but okay, this one can work. Let's say this is sasa, so unaona a subdirectory, this is a subdirectory today's lab, but itatoanga kila kitu as it is. But a route, it's more of it's not necessarily, which si zote zitafanya hivyo. So that's why unaambiwa where is it? Okay, okay, this is what I did. Nilingia dive deeper in with AI. So the answer tutakuwa answered to Sai. Let me see the question. I think we have a question. So think of a route like a map. Yes, exactly. A map directly leads just somewhere. If you're asking for this resource is exactly actually the URL itself is uniform resource locator. So if you want to access this resource, eco-located at this. And now the problem is some resources zinakuanga restricted, zingine uko allowed to access. That's why something like admin, si wewe tu unaweza ingia admin.com ati admin.google.com, unaona venye kuna meet.google.com, wewe ingia admin.google.com hivyo tu, unakuta maybe inahitaji special IPs ziko na access control list ya IP needs to be vitu kama hizo. So it's just mapping the resource to where it is exactly in the web server. Yeah. So Kanyoko, naweza sema they are not, but you can map. A subdirectory is like more physical. Acha tuangalie what subdirectories are by their terms. What is a okay? What is a subdirectory? Kisha niambia subdirectory. Yep. So a subdirectory is, or a subfolder is a folder located inside another folder, the parent directory within the computer file system. For me to consider a subdirectory, I'm thinking a file system. No. So, but routes sometimes, see, they are not inaweza kuwa within the same page, iko tu this resource is just here, ni venye tu For you to access it you need a special request, na some requests zinakubaliwa zingine hazikubaliwi, unaona, vitu kama hiyo. So as you can see, think of it as a folder within a folder, sindio, helping categorize things. So what is a subdirectory in a URL? Tuangalie. It's a folder structure like example or example products, shoes, that organize content within a main website, acting as subsection or a category of the primarily domain. Okay, sasa, which unlike subdomains, which are separate mini sites, it helps structure your site and hierarchical, improves user navigation and your search engine optimization, vitu kama hizo. So key characteristic main a subdirectory, they create clear path from the main site like a filing system. But routes si lazima, they won't do that. So I think I've answered that question. Is it answered? But pia there's a hitch, like tunasemaje, there's something about hiyo swali hata mimi I'll show you why, because when we saw this, was it this kwa so tunaona hii example 2 normalwebsite.com example. So tuliangalia ya kwanza tukaona yes the scheme is HTTP, yes normalwebsite.com is the domain, it's domain, and then example yes inakubalika, you can access that route. So but HTTP normalwebsite.com example 2 pia itakubaliwa, unaona, like it's the same scheme, same domain, same port. Unajua port ya HTML ni to change me as much as I'm accessing the file from your computer, the server is giving me the file, sijafungua any port, I haven't scanned any ports, I haven't changed any ports, it's still port 80 ama port HTTPS which is 443. I think mnafahamu hizo ni basic, hiyo siwai sahau. So that's why you need to know unaelewa what I'm speaking about, what nikisema vitu kama schemes, what are these schemes, niyo tu more of where is it, more of, but of course kama ni HTTP that's the scheme in the URL, of course it's either port 80, but the reason why it's 80 and 80, that port is HTTP hypertext, it served as it is, it's just hypertext inakuanga hivyo, but in secure there's some form of encryption, and that's why haiwezi kuwa, there's no way you can, okay, the only way you can run HTTPS inside HTTP is if ukona through your aje sasa hata sidani, I think maybe if you encrypt in everything, and if you encrypt in everything pia ule mwenye ana receive akuwe na something that's decrypting everything. So but HTTP for you to do this, for you to run kutuma hizo hypertext transfer protocol, the markup language hizo venye the website inakuanga represented, in port 8080 na port 80 ziko tu as it is, unaona. Na remember what I told you a while ago, that hizo unaweza kuta hizo no the difference between an internal and external, unacheki. So as you can see, tukiingia HTTPS normalwebsite.com example itakataa. Kwa nini? It's a different scheme, ndio, and it's a different port 443 tusha change enyewe. Kama nimeserve the resource from port 8080 na nimeallow only equal served from port 8080, firewall itakukataza. Na unajua sasa kutoka hapo haungangani na web server firewall, I don't know, it's more of now the system itself, unacheki. Mambo na ports umeingia more of the operating system itself, because a port una open a connection, like unacheki, there's some communication na from the network side utakuwa disallowed, or from even the application side utakuwa disallowed, yani not allowed, unaona, kitu kama hiyo. So changing a port, unaona, yani na kitu inafanya hii kitu yote, it's maintaining this, ndio inaitwa SOP, same origin policy, unacheki. That's it. So under it hiyo same origin policy If I try http normalwebsite.com example, itakata. Kwa nini? It's a different domain. So understand the first domain was this normalwebsite.com, but nikianza na en is the itakuwa en dot normal. Okay, let me show you something. Itakatazwa, it will not be allowed. This is not the domain you should be accessing. The information is being served from normalwebsite.com. Hiyo nyingine utakuwa access denied because mbona it's a different domain. The same way nikiingia http www world wide web, ama whether en inamaanisha nini, it's another domain. So www world wide web, it's a different domain. Normalwebsite.com .8080, it's still a different domain. It's a different port. Okay, yeah. For instance, if this iko 80, if it's port 80, haiwezi kuja userve port 8080. Unacheki, it's the same domain, but if unajua kuna port 80, kuna port 8080, and then there's port 443. If the service is running from port 80, huwezi access from port 8080. Nitakukataza. Nani atakukataza? The same origin policy. Unacheki? So Internet Explorer will allow this access because Internet Explorer does not take account of the port number when applying the same origin policy. So unaona, same origin policy, who is doing this? The web browsers, nini, unaona? So, and how they do it ni different. Unaweza angalia how other web browsers do, but same origin policy. If you're changing the domain na una change the port, most of them zitakataa. But for instance, but one unique one is Internet Explorer. Haijalingi HTTP is HTTP 8080 as imesemwa hapa, si ndio? So why is it necessary? When a browser sends an HTTP request from one origin to another, any cookies, scale points, any cookies, including authentication session cookies relevant to the other domain are also sent as part of the request. Yani, onanga venye ukilogin as a user kwa website, si unakuanga na hiyo session ID nini, uko na that ka token, ref token. Wow. When I'm sending this request to an external resource, inatumangwa na hizi zote because I want to know the product ID, the user ID, vitu kama hizo, na hizi ndo niweze kuzi access. Kuna vitu kama session cookies, authentication, unacheki hizo vitu zote, yani anything that's sijui kanifanya hivyo hapa. Okay, I'll show you. It's risky but ni sawa. Let me show you. Sitaonyesha the whole information, but under application alafu session storage, hizi zinakuanga na kamambo, but you should be checking hata ukiwa kwa website. Acha nifinyilie ndo msione mambo yangu. Okay, kitu kama cookies, unacheki wanatumia portswigger, vitu kama unacheki the value, the cookie, when you send in these requests, mazee zinatumangwa in cross origin resource sharing, inatumangwa as it is, inatumanga kila kitu, unaona? So same origin policy ina restrict, but na sasa cross origin resource sharing ina allow, kuna venye ina allow. Okay, lakini up to that nataka muone who is running what, who is allowing what to happen, unaona? And how who is doing what, who is running what, the same origin policy. Nani anakataza mwingine, how is it? But there's some vulnerabilities zinaapia, tutarudi hapa. But now, up to now, I think you understand what and why the same origin policy pia ita come to play kwa our world of XXE. Tuta understand to kwa XXE nini. I actually think we also do how you doing it, that your cause vulnerability. I think it's almost the same, but tutaendelea. So let's now look at these vulnerabilities. See bidha up to now, si tunaweza start tunaweza endelea nionyeshe the vulnerability. Si mmejua the payload how it works. Can we now do it? I want you to mko comfortable now, tuachane na theory kiasi, niwaoneshe how it's actually working. Mko comfortable now? Nice kila mse. Okay, I don't know, the thumbs up will be good tafadhali. Nice. Kama umerada, if you have a question, wezi rushe. I'm ready. So yeah, let's move to the practical. Sasa. So mmerada, si ndio? So for you to mmejua how this is doing this, who is sending what, the product ID, how the referencing is happening in XML, how it's being processed. Now let's do it. So for this challenge, exploiting, tumesoma, si ndio? Tumefanya hizi mambo zote. Yeah. I think we are here. So before we start, maybe we learn this. Note, with real-world XXE vulnerabilities, there will often be a large number of data values within the submitted XML, any one of which might be used within the application's response. To test systematically for XXE vulnerabilities, you will generally need to test each data node in the XML individually by making use of your defined entity and seeing whether it appears within the response. Unacheki? So keep in mind, yani what they're telling you is unaona hapa venye tulikuwa tuna test for this product ID, like utakuta si hii itaingia kwanza, utakuta sasa zingine hata inaingianga hapa kwa stock check, utakuta the tag yenye it's handling that can trigger a response inaweza kuwa either hii, it's nested, unaweza kuta it's either hii iko ndani ama ndani ama yenye iko part of hii, the second item on this, unacheki. So let's now see it. So exploiting XXE using external entities to retrieve files. This lab has a check stock feature that passes XML input and returns any unexpected values. So we can access the portswigger.net web security XXE. Hey. Lab exploiting XXE to retrieve files. So to solve this lab, inject an XML entity, external entity to retrieve the contents of etc password file. Let's access the lab. But for hii tusifanye hivyo, tutafanya hivyo. But nimeifungua on my Chrome side. But what we will be using ni Babsuite. You will be using Babsuite for this. So nataka tu ifunguke hii pande. I don't like these kidogo. Then I'll open it again. Babsuite Community Edition. Open it. Thank you. XML is quite big. Nilikuwa najua nitaongea, sikuwa najua nitaongea for this long, but huwezi piga recap hivyo haraka. I don't know. Nilitry hadi but it has a lot of learning. Okay, I need to leave these. Then next. And then start BAP. Just do that. Hadi hapo. Yeah, ninasema XXE, since it's XML, it's not HTML. Kama ni kwa another vulnerability, yes, we just, but since tumekuja kujua as much as tumekuwa tukijua HTML, JS, CSS, whatever, there's also a way websites na handle data. Let's see it. So go Babsuite, you'll come to proxy, and then I just open the browser. I'm checking. And then what will be interesting to us will be his screen. Ndio. What? See, mnaweza ona my screen. Okay. Thank you. So what I'll do, I want to do this. Is it this one? Nimefungua mara mbili. Mara moja. Sini. And then I'll take just copy as it is, we'll copy it, and then you paste to kwa browser yako. I think it should work. Ama you can access Portswigger design. I think it will open. Nice. It may open. So this is it. It's the same shop tulikuwa. Poleni. It's serving these. This is the shop. The alternative Christmas trees, $57.66. Kuna snow delivered to your door. Ni mbaya, $7. First impression costume, $13. But now Let's just check. Tuangalie gani? Tuangalie kato for babies. No. Tuangalie nini? The giant enter key. It looks interesting. I want it. So I'll do this. So what is happening on the backside? Nataka kuona. Unacheki? These are the requests inatuma. You can see this, the host is this. Product ID, this is the response. Product ID is equals to 4. And then this is the the request is the response. This is the kila kitu iko hapa, the cookies, the nini ni sawa sawa. But the giant enter key has this check stock. Nataka kuangalia the check stock of this giant enter key within Paris. And I do this. Let me click. Have I clicked? 128 units. Nimetuma mara ngapi? Ndio hii. Nimetuma mara mingi, so hamtakuwa confused. So this is it. This is the request. Unaona venye nimefinya check stock. This is the request imekuwa post. Mnaona? I don't know. Hopefully yeah, this is it. So hopefully mnaona, hopefully kahuoni. I think try to access you from your sawa. Kuna mse, let's join and then we continue. Kuna mse mwingine? Nope. So this is the post request venye nimefinya. So unakumbuka venye tuliinspect tuliona remember these tukiinspect pia venye tuliinspect hii button. I wanted to inspect this button for what it is. Nikakuja hapa. So button type submit, we are submitting something. So unajua submitting in tunatumia post, si ndio? There's a post request. So and here we can see after clicking the button, the post request was in product and then stock HTTP2, very secure. But down here, nataka muone something very interesting. And also the content type is very important. Hii pia unaweza cheza nayo, you can tweak with this. Kuna zingine huwa zinakataza changing of content type. It's also a protective measure. But for you as a msee mwenye anataka kujisecure pia from this is also one method. Usiallow a user to be able to change the content type. Then some web browsers zinakuanga zimefanya hivyo. So but kuna zingine zinakuanga wamesahau, and you can change the content type. And if you can change the content type, you can serve XML. If kitu kayo, I don't know, it's possible. So tukikuja hapa chini tunakuja kawaida, it's very innocent, it's XML. Acha niwakopie hii pia muione kwa wenye waoni vizuri. See, I can do away with this. Ndio hii inakaa hivi. Let me try and make it big. Subheading inakaa hivi. It's XML version 1.0 encoding UTF-8 and then stock check. Tunaangalia stock check. The product ID is product 4 and the store ID is 2. Unacheki this data make sense for both the developer and for the computer. The computer can be able to access the database directly from product ID by reading this. No, easy. Product ID, I can read the product ID as the database and the store ID as the database. Lakini pia me as the user, I understand what I'm sending. Unacheki. So this is the purpose of XML. But sasa, remember what tumeambiwa, like hii vulnerability inaweza appear anywhere. Unaona? Like for instance, give me a minute. So the stock check unaona ina handle this product ID na ina handle store ID, ndio? Now let's see how we will be doing this challenge, ndio? Hii kitu ya kwanza, what you'll do, you need to send it to your repeater. I want to see this request because our area of interest, I've already seen, I'm handling XML version nini and the response is 200. Okay, what else can I play with it, ndio? So ni send to repeater, imeenda. Okay, kwa repeater, let's look at it now. remember our payload. Unakumbuka hiyo payload yetu? Ujamaa huyu ako hapa. Ako wapi huyu? Ako hapa. Where is it? Okay, stay kuitype, nataka tuicopy pia tuione as it is. Mani amoni kwa mnoma. Where is it? I think I can go back. Niko sawa. I can do these. Yeah, these. No. This is still as it is, but our payload tulisema ni ndio our external reference. So let's just try this hii kwanza hivyo, then nikuje hapa, unaona tu hapa tu chini ya hii UTF-8 just paste hapo doctype foo nini XXE. Now our external entity is this, unaona. So tumekuja tu tukafanya just for me to, lakini pia before we start okay, sawa, mnikumbushe niwaulize niwaambie doctype foo ni nini. So but yeah, it's just doctype foo, and then after you do that you put these unawekanga these is very important is it what do you call them, braces ama what? The braces unafungua it has one hapa because okay this is just because I tumalizane now. Doctype definition ni kwanga hiyo doctype foo resume browsing ndio mimi niliangalia Google search ilikuwa nimeiangalia doctype foo. So that is a fragment of an XML document type definition DTD. In the context of web security, it is often associated with XML external entity injection, a vulnerability that occurs. So iko hivi in this snippet okay, pana no, there's something I want something doctype foo what is what kidogo tunarudi kufanya, but I think you also need to know what is doctype. Like nataka tu ujue, I don't know, the string doct is a XML document document type definition often used. Apana, what does doctype foo do? Okay, so it defines a DTD. It starts a document type definition which defines the structure and rules for an XML document. So so in this context, foo is just a placeholder name for the root element, the XML document, and it sets the stage to define custom entities variables with XML. Do you remember tukisema DTD is just a placeholder? So I can also say doctype instead of doctype HTML, naanza na doctype whatever. Doctype foo whatever, I don't know, you can just put it's just a placeholder DTD document type definitions, no. So E exclamation doctype foo, and then this parent E need whatever easy the braces, and then now you do the document type definition. Yani tunafanya this is now where it is, but now tunaanza na hapa kwanza we declare is doctype foo, and then open this and now come pass ukuja upass sasa hii, and then don't forget to close hivi, and then so the same way inakaa hapa, it's just hivi doctype na it's caps doctype, and then foo, and then just fungua with all permission, and then now come declare your entity capital entity, and then we'll call it XXE. For instance, you can call it hata jina yako. What does it do? It accesses system nataka the external resource, inasema it's an external resource, but I'll be accessing file. Sasa unajuanga, you remember unakumbuka pale nikiwaonesha hii ya C like file hivi file C, so unacheki you can just also hii unajua itafungua my C programs nini the same way. Kwa hii payload I can just say I want to access file, which file? etc password. So mnajua, do you know etc password inafanya nini kwa Linux? It's a very important file. Let me show you how important it is. What is the work? Okay, what is file etc password and doing is the file etc password. So etc password in Linux systems is a plain text database storing essential user account information like username, user ID, the group ID, the home directory, and default shell separated by colons. Unasikia hizo zote? So it is stored in etc password. I want to see if I can access that because that file is very crucial. So, and then from there, we remember file after nimesha define here, I can now close. I can close who? I can close this one, Dr. Fu, but nime close the entity. I cannot, and then nifunge hii and then I close the doc type. So this is the hiyo ndo syntax inakaanga hivi. I don't know kama nimekosea. No, I think I'm okay. Now this is your external referencing. Yani this XXE to shall define so external entity. This is now is in the injection part. Hii ndo kila kitu. Now from there it's just a matter of what is it? Kutry kucheza na huu jamaa. And then reference. Now I want to reference this external entity yenye tumedefine and then try to send. I don't know kama ita send bad request. It has done an HTTP 400 bad request, content type application JSON. It's a bad request skatai. Lakini angalia the response that we have gotten from the internal systems. Invalid product ID gani? So unajua sasa it was supposed to say invalid product ID kama nilikuwa nimeweka product 4. Yani for instance kama hapa where I'm supposed to, it's reading 4. If I pass anything else then haijui itasema a bad request, it's an invalid product ID, but itataka kusema okay, can I undo and then redo? Can I do blah blah blah? Kitu kayo w any gibberish and then send. I think I should also get a bad request. It's a bad request because it's an invalid product ID. Unacheki, if you get such a response, invalid product ID hivi and it's on XXS, unaona si reference, yani it's just imetuambia what you have typed here. But sasa balaa inafanyika if I choose to do this XXE na XML inarada hii nini, inajua this is an external entity. Imekuwa it's referencing what. Sasa shida ni when it will be trying to kuambia since this is just a placeholder, haitarudisha hii since umeweka and then XXE and here ulikuwa umesema Dr. Fu ukaweka entity XXE which references system etc password. It will not return XXE, it will return the contents of hiyo design. It's a bad request. Jamaa kwani nimefungiwa. Let me see. It happens. Okay, ndo hiyo. It's a bad request. Sindio? Yes. Invalid product ID. What? So na venye ilikuwa inaandika saa majina. Sasa inakupea the all information of etc file password, of the whole contents of the etc password. Now imagine with this, I can see where do I have a shell. Let me see. Root bin bash. Unacheki? So I can kama niko na RC nini, if I'm looking for a shell, this is where I'll go. Nini naweza ona there's a user Carlos hapa. Namuona home Carlos bin bash. No, na nako na shell user home ona. So these are it's in website ifai inakupea this information and it can give you even more information. So based on how it's been configured, unaona sasa na click. If you usipo configure manze ni mbaya. If you don't configure this, it will respond. It will respond because it's an external entity and your system, your vulnerable server will try to reference it. Now once you may reference, inamaanisha the contents of file etc password will be displayed as XXE. Unacheki? Since it's an external, unacheki? Hivyo ndo ina work. And imagine that's the whole vulnerability. Boom. That's it. I don't know. Maybe if you have a question, maybe acha niwaachie hapa kwa wenye wanafuata. Let me present something else. Stop presenting. Niwache kwa hiyo screen for me to take questions. Because after this sasa mmeiona, we'll need to go to blind XXE since mmeona XXE how it is working. Kuna mtu akona swali up to there? Kuna mtu akona swali? I don't know, I expect questions. Ama of how imework, ama nimefanya nini? Any question ama mmeelewa? Robert, tulifanya na yeye pia, tumefanya na I don't know, is anyone else doing it? Kama unafanya Ruben, nice. Aha. So mmeelewa, mmeirada, si ndio? Yeah, Ken unaweza uliza, you can ask your question please.
Hapa kwenye umeinjectia hiyo XML hiyo XXE naona ni kwa line 20, so inapelekana, is it just part of the post request? Is it part of the body of the post request ama ni?
Yes, exactly. Yes. Unaona venye tumefinya post, unaona from the HTTP proxy tukienda HTTP, unaona it was a post request, ndio?
Yes.
And when you're looking at the request we were making, the request was handled XML, ndio?
Nimeona hiyo blank line hapo. Hizo zingine zote ni header, alafu hiyo ndio body.
Yeah. So easy post, this is the request itself I'm making. These are the headers, nini cookies, ndio? Now this is the body of it. When you and the problem is now the body is being handled in XML. It's no longer HTML. Ama JSON. Unajua pia kuna JSON, ndio? Yeah, so this is now XML. And XML allows you to tuma data here and forth. So no, back and forth between data, between client and the server.
So hapa kwa applications zenye, kwa hivyo server zenye zina accept application XML ziko na hiyo vulnerability. They have that particular vulnerability, unless configured to not respond to it.
Sasa, yeah, if you haven't configured it, as you're handling this data yako nayo utahandle, lakini balaa itakuja ni ile time msee atatry kupush this payload akiweka hii yenyewe, this is still legit, ni legit, itakubalika.
Because as long as content type can accept application XML, that vulnerability is always there.
Okay, it's not in a, if not configured well, it's there. Hata nikwambie ukweli. If not, yani that's why unakuta people like Java, they are constantly fighting. Yani hawana budi. Itabidi umeconfigure vizuri. You cannot just bus exactly. If doc type is blocked but external entities are allowed, is access is still possible. Okay. Doc type is blocked. Okay, in what sense? Okay, I think this is a good question. I don't know if I want to address it very well. How do you block it? How do you block it? Nataka kujua pia. Yeah. Yes. I think yes. You know why? Doc type declaration is blocked, but the parser is still configured to allow external entities to be resolved. Unacheki? Such as okay, hii nitawaambia kuna kitu kama okay, let me show you the page that I'm reading. Kuna hii kitu inaitwa X include attacks. Yeah, tutaenda lakini it's the same way. It's more of how well you're referencing. Let me show you. Let me show you the screen I'm reading. Ndo tuelewe. So Robert, to answer your question, hata AI imekubali. Hata mimi naona yes, it's possible. Because let me show you. Go up. I'll have to share the entire screen. Then share, and then let's just look at these. If doc tape is blocked, that was the question. If doc tape is blocked but external entities are allowed, is XXE still impossible? Kwa sababu if it's an external entity, unaona the process for you to declare an external entity, you need to process it in some type of way. Unacheki? So XXE is still potentially possible if the doc tape declaration is blocked, but the parser is still configured to allow external entities to be resolved via other mechanisms such as XInclude. So while blocking doc tape is a strong defense that stops traditional XXE which relies on DTD. Hii hapa, yani utakuwa umenifanya mbaya paka hapa. I think paka tu hapa. This is how lethal that protection is. Okay, let me what's an mnaona? Yeah. This is how lethal that is. But aujanisimamisha, I don't think this is the main thing. So let's look at what happens. XInclude, while blocking doc tape, is a strong defense that stops traditional XXE, which relies on data defining entities in a DTD. It does not cover all attack vectors. Why? Here's why XXE can still occur in this scenario. XInclude attacks. If the application passes XML input that allows XInclude, a feature that allows an XML document to include information from another document, an attacker can bypass the doc type restriction. So the attack, instead of tag entity tag, the attacker uses ndo hii. Na hii ndo iko. Bidhaa mmenotice siku hizi websites ndo hizi XMLNS. Yeah, it's because the payload itself is more of what I'm referencing. Unacheki? I don't care kama utakataa DTD. What I care, do you use external entities? Do you allow cross-origin resource sharing? How well is your SOAP configured? Unacheki? Hapo ndo kila kitu. So yes, the answer is yes. Why it works? XInclude is often not disabled even when doc type is blocked. So the next thing imekuja tu ni misconfigurations maze. If the parser misconfigured allow external entities, if the parser specifically allows loading external entities but only blocks the doc type declaration itself, a rare misconfigured scenario, an attacker might still be able to use parameter entities or other tricks if the underlying parser library is not properly secured. Lakini the same question Robert ameuliza ndo hii. Naamka tulikuwa tunaingia blind XXE. Leo we were to cover blind XXE. If the parser can still resolve external entities even without direct reflection of the file contents in the response, an attacker can use blind XXE to steal data. So how? The attacker defines an external entity pointing to a URL they control. Sasa tunaingia hapo. That answers you actually, the question is so good because it will be marking the end of this and some introduction to cross-origin resource sharing. Uyu. Unacheki? And what happens in cross-origin resource sharing? Na mkumbuke, siwishi VS Code ifunguke. Akianani. I really need to show you something. Something is good hapa ndani. Lakini VS Code imeniambia hapana. I don't know why. But remember, I don't know if we okay, we'll do it. Tutaifanya tu from here. But how servers, unajuanga venye servers was na log. Unajua, for instance, unaona the fact that request port trigger, web security, XX nini, unaona. Let's try and copy this link here. Unaona hii link nimecopy tu venye iko. But now let me try and do something that does not exist. I exist. not found. But how imejuaje haiwezi found, not found? It has processed it. Unacheki? What if the same way ime process, someone can also log? Instead of processing, wewe, since it's an external entity, na I have an original domain, niko na domain yangu www.attacker.com. Lakini mimi hakuna kitu na kurespondia with. The fact that you will make any web request to me the same way to make any request to portfigure.net, it will definitely log these. Unacheki? Na kumbukeni, what did he say? Hizi request zikitumwa, manze zinaendanga na user ID, cookies, unacheki, SSRF tokens, unacheki. So it's still possible. Unaona? But since hiyo swali imeulizwa, first of all, Robert, umenrada? Nimeona ameelewa. Anyone else anafeel ako stuck na explanation? I can expound. Because nimetaja nimetaja vitu ka 5 within that explanation. So, but what I want you to have in mind ni these external entities ziko na mambo mingi. Ni sawa, you can block me in one way, lakini mko na cross origin resource sharing. If you send me a request, do you send me with the session nini? Yes. Can I log this information? Since it's an external entity, wewe, yes, nice. So wewe kama web server, you don't care. The moment umeniuliza attacker.com, you don't know what is happening on my side. You don't know what I'm doing with that information yenye mnanitumia. Unaona? So yes, hata kama disable doc type, there are very many ways of doing XXE. Hii ilikuwa ya kwanza, and these people are very vulnerable to it. They are very, very vulnerable to it. But if not, this blind XXE, kuna vitu mingi. But what I want you to understand is, ni venye una handle hii. Unacheki? How they are referencing. The same way tumeona AI imetu explainia in this sense. Like, where is it? Yeah, iko hapa. I really need to show you. Umeona hapa. I don't care how I'll do it. The attack, instead of this, the attacker uses this. Now unaweza tumia hii namna sasa. XMLNS, XI, and then include, unacheki, and then XI include pass text, href, file, etc, password. Now sasa hii, you need to change. This is another configuration, lazima uchange. Unacheki? But pia, kama, since this one, it's highly a rare misconfigured scenario, kuna kitu kama out of band. If the parser can still resolve external entities, even without direct reflection of the file contents in the response, naweza i-trigger this time, nitumie huko, nitumie kwa my attacker side. Unacheki? So, let me show you. Since I need to show you blind XXE, it's hapa, using XXE to retrieve files to solve hapa chini. This one you can do. Kama umefanya ya kwanza, you can do this one, because server side request forgery ni more of what you can do with this payload. Unacheki? So you can come to this and do it. But since that question imekuwa raised, let's look at blind XXE vulnerabilities. So, but points you go across, this is still the same. What we are finding important is how they are referencing. So we go back to blind XXE. Many instances of XXE vulnerabilities are blind. This means that the application does not return the values of any defined external entities in its response. And so direct retrieval of server-side files is not possible. But blind XXE vulnerabilities can still be detected and exploited. But more advanced techniques are required. You can sometimes use out-of-band techniques to find vulnerabilities and exploit them ndo uweze kuiba data. And you can sometimes trigger XML passing errors that lead to disclosure of sensitive data within error messages. hizi error messages zinakuwa, so unajua 44 not found, 303 not found. Hata kama you are so secure with this, acha tuone how blind XXE blind XXE vulnerabilities. Acha tuingia hapa. So finding and exploiting blind XXE vulnerabilities. What is blind XXE? Tumesoma blind XXE arise where the application is vulnerable to XXE injection but does not return the values of any defined external entities within its response. This means that direct retrieval of server-side files is not possible. And so XXE is generally harder to exploit than regular XXE vulnerabilities. There are two broad ways in which you can find and exploit blind XXE vulnerabilities. You can trigger an out-of-band network interaction, sometimes in a exfiltrate sensitive data within the interaction data. You can trigger XML passing errors in such a way that the error contains sensitive data. Unaona? Sasa, let me show you. So you can often detect blind XXE using the same technique as XXE SSRF attacks, but triggering the out-of-band network interaction to a system that you control. For example, you'll define an external entity as follows. Sindio, hivi. Same. But sasa, cheki. http://.webattacker.com. You'll then make use of the defined entity in a data value within the XML. So the XXE attack causes the server to make a backend HTTP request to the specified URL. Unarada? The attacker can monitor the resulting DNS lookup and HTTP requests and thereby detect that the XXE attack was successful. Hadi hapo, okay, let me show you as it is. Let me show you the lab. Blind XXE lazima muione. So this lab is the same, has a check stock feature that passes XML input, does not display the result. You can detect the blind XXE vulnerability by triggering an out-of-band interaction within an external domain. To solve this lab, use an external entity to make an XML parser issue a DNS lookup and HTTP request to BAP collaborator. Okay, blah blah blah. Ni vitu mingi, but let me show you what it means. Sasa, it's the same way now, since kuna hiyo filter, kuna hiyo firewall. Now this time I don't want you to respond. Staki unipe hiyo information yote. Najua yenyewe ni ngumu since you are protected na hiyo doc type. Let's see if wacha tuicopy. The same way we'll do just the same. Tuingie kwa hapa. And then like, okay, you can just choose it since tumemaliza hii, you can just do this, the new URL, and then tuifungue, sindio? And then do the lab. Mtaona blend, it's very easy. It's funny. Lakini sasa, what is unique about it? Iko na view exploit server. I don't know. I think it should have. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the solution. Nini, and then go to collaborators. Okay. Wow. Let me. Okay. Hii out of band interaction, I want to show you exactly. Okay, kuna moja lazima tufanye before you understand this out of band what inamaanisha. So allow me, as me understand blend XXE venye na work, itabidi tumefanya the SSRF attacks. Is it this one? Yes. And then, okay, I want to see something. Kuna kitu very important I need us to see. Guys, it's done. Jesus. What can I do? Cheki, Kanyoko. Is Kanyoko still around? Kanyoko, are you around? Allow me to I do something for like 10 minutes, any 10 or 5. Nimeshtuka. I need to pick something real quick, but nakam kuendelea hapa. Would you guys, are you okay with that, Peter? Since we've already done the first bit, tuingia sasa blind XXE for what it is. but kuna kitu nataka kuchukua. So Kanyoko can be, anaweza endelea, mnaweza kuwa mkikava, taking questions, interaction, I don't know. Is that okay? Will you guys allow me? Yeah. Ama mno, cause our agenda is blind. Na yeah. Yeah. Watu waongee guide. Eh, yeah. Juu hii kitu ni kubwa. It's big. Eh. Oh, wallahi. Wow, poleni. Lakini imagine it's that big. Yeah. Hey, thank you. Okay. Mnaona kesho saa ngapi? Tufanye hii masaa cause hii content ni mob. Lakini I think we've done soap, tumefanya course, tumefanya but that also you can come and check hapa, kuna kakalab unaweza fanya. Unaona hizi unaweza fanya hizi labs, you can do it. Unaweza angalia with that card kuna yeah, si ndio tu uingie trigger and then we do that, check what we've been doing and then kesho sawa, ni sawa lakini today really wanted to do blind, lakini sawa, hii nilijua. Yeah, thank you guys for your attendance pia. Yeah. So guys, hii blind imekataa tuianze. Hata last time tulikuwa tuianze, I was like hey, acha kwanza tuanzie juu, we need to cover a lot pia. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, plus pia you can talk, unaweza tuambia pia how the session was, what should we add leo kama tumestall sana, if you really wanted to learn blind. Lakini you are I don't know, me I can say both pia I can tell you guys is like mi na tukifanya na nini kitu will tutaguza kila pahali, will touch everywhere. So yeah, it's you're open, it's 10:10. If you have a suggestion, you can leave a like kama unaweka thumbs up pia ka session imekubamba. And then thank you also for like joining. Yenyewe tutaendelea, it's not si kitu kidogo hii blind XXE, hatuwezi anza leo, atumalize tu leo. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. Kesho kama pia mtajoin mazee please, because it's exciting, we can do bug bounty with these so yeah, thank you for listening in. Me I think we can call it a session. I lovely having a session with you guys, hoping to do more, sindo. So kuna link ya YouTube channel Kanyolo kuuliza. We'll share it in the group, and also pole. Okay. Yeah. So thank you guys. Copy the link. Kama uko na question, feel free to hit your DMs. Our DMs pia tutakuambia. We'll tell you more. We can do hizo sessions pia. We can do a walkthrough peke yako pia kama upali ulikwama. Don't feel stuck. I understand this is a lot of content and it will take time. But if no one has a question, we can call it a session. Good night, guys. Have a wonderful evening.